Hello everybody, and a very warm welcome to all our attendees and a special welcome to our PixelArt customers and partners on today's webinar session. Great to have you all here. We're very excited to talk to you all today over the next 20-25 minutes about the challenges that enterprises are facing from a compliancy standpoint in regards to managing cardholder data on Outlook 365. So Outlook 365 has additional challenges when it comes to getting a grip on sensitive data, but in general, email is where we are seeing a huge trend in cardholder data or CHD propagation throughout organizations, and unfortunately, it has not really been recognized as a big issue so far by most organizations. And in a recent managed service we ran for a multinational insurance company, CHD or cardholder data was found on actually 25% of all of their email boxes. Now, the company in question ran the audit to get a better idea of the risk they had, and their estimation prior to running the audit was that they would find approximately 5% of email boxes with CHD. So you can see there that there's a clear difference between our sort of expectations in regards to risk that is out there and the actual reality when it comes to email. And what we saw in that example and in general is that the transfer of sensitive data such as cardholder data and information and other data, it is a poor business practice, but one that is becoming integrated into the business process. And in the vast majority of cases, companies are unaware of the extent of these practices and the risk that they are exposed to. And this is caused in part by a growing trend, an unfortunately growing trend, in that consumers are scanning their credit cards and sending them into organizations for payment. And in many cases, they just take a photo of the credit card and send it in as an image. So all of this propagation of cardholder data, although unknown to the organization, would be considered part of the card data holder environment as defined by the PCI DSS standard, and it should be managed in one way or another. The fact that most organizations are unaware that email is part of their cardholder data environment is indeed an issue, and it has led to additional audit, let's say, surprises, costs, and efforts for a lot of organizations. So when we talk about scope in regards to the PCI DSS standard, we are referring to what is included in a company's cardholder data environment, what they call the CDE. Now, the cardholder data environment is comprised of people, processes, and technologies that store, process, or transmit cardholder data. So let's imagine you have a database that stores certain credit card information of your clients, maybe some online payment system, and these would be considered part of your environment and considered in scope. So from a compliancy point of view, the smaller your environment is, the better, as it reduces your effort to achieve compliance. It means you've got less to audit, less to review. So in scope means what is considered inside that data environment, and here we can see a graphical representation within, let's say, that little red box. We can see our CDE, and we can see what is considered in scope, and we can see other infrastructure that could possibly be on the right-hand side that could be considered outside of scope. Now, for a company to or organization to confirm the accuracy of what is inside their environment and what should be considered in scope, they need to verify that there is no cardholder data outside the defined environment. And to do this accurately, data discovery is a necessary piece of the puzzle. So if companies do find CHD cardholder data outside of that defined environment, they can do one of the following. And this is following the PCI DSS requirements, as you can see. They can do one of the following. They can securely delete the data, they can migrate the data to the data environment, or they can remediate or redefine the data environment. So when we talk about cardholder data in Outlook 365 and we talk about in-scope and out-scope, etc., we have an additional level of confusion as your data is on the cloud. So it's not stored on an on-premise server. So the question here is it considered in-scope? Is it considered to be part of your card data holder environment? And Microsoft has made this clear in numerous publications that they are not responsible for other organizations' PCI compliancy issues. So CHD in Outlook 365 is an issue, and it is an issue that organizations have to deal with. Now, you can either extend your card data holder environment and your auditing efforts, or you can define it as being outside of scope. Okay? And remember, PCI requires you to verify that no cardholder data exists outside of that environment. So if it is there, you will need to remove it. And we have dealt with customers recently who have been surprised by this reality, but have been able to quickly respond with PixelArt solutions by scanning all of their Outlook 365 email boxes and securely deleting any cardholder data found, in addition to giving them greater insights into how data flows through their organizations to help them improve business processes moving forward. So now I'd like to hand over to my colleague and senior developer at PixelArt, Niall Lynch, so he can walk us through how PixelArt actually does this. How do we do this differently, and how do we address cardholder data in Outlook 365? Niall, over to you.
Thanks, Dara. As Dara was saying, I will be detailing the steps to creating an Office 365 mailbox scan. I will take you through the following steps. So the first step is provisioning the Auditor server, then set up the credentials, create the Auditor scan and add the targets and credential from step 2, start the scanning process, and finally reviewing, reporting and remediation of the results. So step 1, provisioning the Auditor server for Office 365 mailbox scanning. The technical requirements of Auditor allows it to be installed on any Windows OS and on any box, but for production environments, PixelArt recommends as a minimum a dedicated Windows Server 2008 or 2012 or 2, 8 GB of RAM, a 4-core processor, and between 250 GB and 500 GB size hard drive. When beginning an Office 365 mailbox scan, you must provision the server to have enough space on the hard disk. Auditor makes a local encrypted copy of each mailbox in order to scan. Each local mailbox copy is deleted once it has been scanned. The upper size limit of a 365 mailbox as of April 2016 is 25 GB. So you could potentially need 400 GB of space to temporarily store this data while the scan is active. So setting up the credentials, a little bit of background. In Office 365 and on Exchange servers, accounts with enterprise administrators' rights are explicitly denied the rights to access all mailboxes by default. PixelArt recommend creating a special user whose sole purpose is to have the appropriate access to each mailbox. These privileges are added in the Mailbox delegation in the Admin Exchange Center, as can be seen in the slide here. And the easiest method is to use an Exchange Management Shell commandlet, such as in the example above here. So now I will take you through very quickly how to create an auditor scan and add targets and credentials. So I create my scan here. I add my Office 365 targets, which I have here. And then I will select the user that was created in the previous step. So now we have our scan with our targets, and so the next thing to do is Actions Scan, and this will begin the scan. So this will obviously take a while to complete, so I'll show you a already completed scan here. So you can see that there's 2 mailboxes and 1 file share. And so once the scan completes, the next step will be to review the results. So we can see that our results are organized here. Track data being the most sensitive information. So we can see that that's organized here. So we report, this is in our reported. So PixelArt have developed a solution that uses the Microsoft EWS Managed API to make an encrypted copy of each mailbox. Each mail is then temporarily copied to disk once the scan has been copied. Once the scan has been copied locally, which is encrypted with AES encryption standard, it is scanned. Once the scan completes, the mailbox is then deleted. So Auditor copies the mailbox, scans it, then deletes this copy. Auditor then moves on to the next target to do the same. So we've seen the review. The next is the reporting. So we have our card auditor report, which is ready for PCI compliancy. So we choose which scan we want to report on, which can be all scans or selected scans. And I have a report created here already. So I'll quickly scroll through this to give you a look at what a PCI compliancy report will look like. We can see here the card data by description and the numbers here of the different policy types that were found in the scan. So once the reviewing and reporting is done, the next step is to do the clean or remediation work. So we can choose our critical data results. You can see them here. The next step is to approve these results. And then we have the option to do a secure delete, or we can quarantine with encryption. So in summary, I have shown you how to add the credentials in the Office 365 Exchange, add targets, and start a scan, and I gave a brief explanation there of the reviewing, reporting, and deletion of the results. So I will now pass you back to Dara to continue with the rest of the webinar.
Okay, so that was great, Niall. Thank you very much for that quick run through. Obviously, there's only so much you can show on these sessions, and without obviously overkilling the audience with new information. But I think that was a great balance in showing how we technically address cardholder data in Outlook 365 to help companies expedite and reduce their PCI compliancy efforts. As our solutions have all of this PCI-focused functionality out of the box, we have a natural fit within the financial sector, as you can see here amongst our customer base, where you can find a lot of household names and a lot of financial institutions. And as you can imagine, there are obviously a lot of names here we cannot publish due to the sensitive nature of the companies and the information in question. obviously today, cardholder data is no longer just a challenge for financial institutions. It is almost a global issue for companies across the board. As payments become more digitized and data grows exponentially, companies have an ever-growing task of getting their data under control. But hopefully we've shown you today that this can be done. It can be done centrally, automatically, and it can be done from one pane of glass and no agent required with zero deployment efforts. And specifically as data actually goes outside of our networks and it goes up into the cloud in the case of Outlook 365, that we can also manage, again, centrally, automatically, and from one pane of glass. Okay, so that's just wraps up the session for today. So we've looked at the implications of cardholder data in Outlook 365, the confusions that exist, and really what needs to be done in regards to CHD in Outlook 365. Basically, if you do not have it defined within your cardholder data environment, you need to do something about that. And one of the points that PCI clearly defines is to securely delete it. And Niall has gone through quickly the steps today to show you how we can connect to your Outlook 365 email boxes, and we can discover that data, and then you can securely delete it and report to show all of those actions. So that sort of sums up our session, and just looking through our chat for some of the questions that are coming through here. Obviously we'll just pick up out a few, but Niall, maybe you can throw some light on this. First question that we have here is, does PixelArt download the entire email box before it starts scanning?
Yeah, thanks, Gary. So the scanning processes uses the Microsoft AWS API to copy down each mailbox. So Auditor scans the mailbox, then it deletes this copy. So this copy is encrypted, obviously, so Auditor then moves on to the next target mailbox to do the same. There are, of course, several of these scanning processes running concurrently, so several mailboxes will be copied and scanned at any one time. And so by the way, though, in Auditor you can choose how many concurrent processes to run, as this depends on how much CPU power is available.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Niall. And I guess the next question here, just scrolling down through the chat, is, and I guess it goes in line with the first, is what impact does that have on the network?
Right. Yeah. So this will have little impact on the network. However, this communication is over the internet, so it will depend on the bandwidth at the customer site. It's important to note, though, that the scanning is pulling down individual emails incrementally, so it will have no effect on a user's mail flow, and scans can always be then run out of hours using the scan scheduling feature in Auditor.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Niall. I think finally, one of the last questions that we'll take out here, and I guess it's a question more relating to generally how the solution works, and not specifically Outlook 365, but can administrators see the credit card information on the console? So I guess the question is more of, what is the visibility from the actual solution itself?
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, so no credit card results can be seen. So all credit card results are masked, as we saw there in my demonstration, that the numbers are highlighted, but they're masks. So Auditor only stores the mask number, not the full number. And the reason behind that, obviously, is that so the Auditor database doesn't become like a honeypot of credit card information. So.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Niall. So thank you all to our attendees today. We hope this session has been valuable for you to understand how you can get your Outlook 365 email under control from a cardholder data point of view. In addition to be able to scanning for credit card information, we have various solutions that can scan for other sensitive data and inappropriate images, all with the same process that we have seen today. And we'd like to offer a free version of the product to those of you who joined the session, and we will be following up with an email after. So once again, thank you all for your time today on the session, and please check out our website to have a look for up and coming webinars. Okay, so thank you all for your time again, and thank you, Niall, for your explanations. Take care, everybody, and have a great day.